The worst feeling is when you know you should do something, like get your clothes ready for the morning, or send an important email, or get the garbage outside in time for the garbage truck, but you just can't do it. Everyone procrastinates sometimes, but for people who were abused or neglected as kids, there are extra factors that can make procrastination much, much worse. The things you're not dealing with can take over your life. It can hold you back. It can make you depressed that you're stuck day after day in the same old rut, like paralysis. But if you know how to address the trauma wounds that are driving it, it can get a lot better. I had to learn this the hard way because I used to get stuck in procrastination all the time, and it was so demoralizing. And then I made it stop. I wouldn't be here with this YouTube channel and courses and a book and live shows and a team of 9 people if I hadn't cracked how to keep my productivity going strong. But when people ask me how I did it, most of them don't like the answer they get. So if you've got the courage to hear it, I'll tell you how I did it. First, I had to develop a new understanding of what procrastination is, because the word is a bit of a euphemism. It's not just like, oh, I'm being lazy, haha. Procrastination ruins your life, actually, like a parasite that infects your will, and it sabotages your self-concept as someone whose life is important. I use the word paralysis because you find yourself unable to take positive action on your own behalf. And this can be little day-to-day things like browsing the internet when you have work to do, or in bigger matters that affect lots of people in profound ways, like not getting around to mailing the utility bill, leaving the whole family without electricity. That used to happen in the home where I grew up. Now, you can procrastinate to the degree that you ruin your relationship, your career, your integrity, your finances, and your health. So that's not just being lazy. That's a kind of soul sickness. So why can't we act? Honestly, I think the biggest reason is that doing things, this is the part people don't like, doing things, committing ourselves, spending energy, creating something out of nothing, the reason we put it off is because it's hard. It's hard. The difficulty of truly accomplishing something combines with a kind of exhaustion that goes along with trauma symptoms. Depression, conflicts, emotional outbursts, a feeling of overwhelm. There's this feeling that life is already so hard and like you think you can't take on anything more than what you absolutely have to do to survive. And it's not like there's nothing to that, but it's not a mindset that helps you solve the trauma problem. For example, one of the great joys of my life is publishing videos on YouTube, and I'm doing that work right this second as I record this. I love publishing videos and then reading all the comments and discussions that people like you contribute. People are often so kind to each other. Well, not always, but often. It really moves me. So making these videos is my joy, and it's also how my family earns income. And you know what? The days when I'm supposed to be planning and researching and scripting these videos, oh, it's like torture for me. I'm craving to just go lie down and not do it, because the whole process takes days of preparation, probably about 6 to 8 hours per video when you add it all together. And it's a lot of creative work. You have to think of logical sequences and what are the main points I'm going to make. It's like, oh, it takes effort. Now, it's a little less work when I share older videos or read a letter. Although reading all the letters I get and choosing a few that I'll answer in the videos each week, it takes hours too. And hearing about so many people suffering can take a lot of emotional strength. But the hardest part is just getting started when it's time to really lay out what videos I'm going to do this week. What are they going to be about? And which letters am I going to choose? I suddenly, when it's time to do this, I get so interested in my houseplants and getting the crud out of that little aluminum track at the bottom of the sliding windows. And, oh, look, people are saying stuff on Twitter. Let's go see what they're saying. And it makes no sense because window crud and Twitter make me feel bad about myself, and releasing these videos makes me feel good. But doing the work that leads up to the moment of taping is hard, and it actually makes me happy to set my intention and stick to my intention. This is what integrity is. It's accomplishment. It's the way that I fulfill my personal mission to help other people who have childhood PTSD to recover. And I'm proud of my work. And I also see flaws in my work. But being engaged in creating and sharing and serving people in the world is what makes me tick. And actually, if you're thinking of like putting things out there online, a lot of people get stuck because they're like, oh, it's not that good. Well, none of my stuff is that good. But I put 4 videos a week out. I put it out and then I let go a little bit. And sometimes, I get like some flack. I put out a video and a lot of people are like, Anna, you got that wrong. And I let that be. I'm okay with that. It's the price I pay for productivity, is I get some stuff out there. Mostly, it receives a good reception. But I cannot let getting it wrong occasionally stop me in my tracks. Procrastinating is an attempt to solve the problem of stress. Stress is a problem, and it can seem like if I could just procrastinate a little while and I'd get all this energy and focus, as if procrastinating is like a battery charging or like a defibrillator, those chest paddles where you put them on when somebody's heart stops. Charge, ka-chunk, and their heart starts again, right? Oh, yeah, well, if I just procrastinate, then I'll leap into action. But does it work that way? No, it's not how it works. There's a time to rest and care for yourself, but blowing off the work you know you need to do is not the same thing. It doesn't de-stress you. It causes stress. For people with childhood PTSD, especially when there's a lot of unhealed stuff, you're in a state of stress pretty much all the time. So everything is hard, everything. And that's the vicious circle. Stress makes things hard, so you avoid tasks which make you more stressed, which prompts you to avoid tasks even more, and so on. Now, people who don't have childhood PTSD have no idea how much work it is for some of us to do ordinary things. It's exhausting and stressful just being in the world sometimes, right? People are hard to deal with. That's true. And going out of the house is hard. And sticking to a schedule is hard. Expressing yourself is hard. Hearing other people's opinions when you disagree with them is hard. Making money is hard. But you know what's harder? Not doing all these things. And that's why when you feel overwhelmed and stressed, the solution isn't always to give yourself permission to procrastinate. Sometimes the best way to calm stress is to take the chaos of your unfinished tasks from the heap of to-do items and forgotten emails and unfinished projects and just get to work on them. Feels good, right? You might want to stop thinking about stress and overwhelm, to stop telling yourself that the solution is to avoid everything that's stressful for you, because in the end, the path of least resistance is to do these things anyway. That's the thing that most people do not want to hear. And I know I'll get comments complaining to me, oh, Anna, I see. They'll be sarcastic, Oh, that's the solution to not being able to do things, is I just have to do things, but I just told you I can't. Hey, this is not the video for people who want to be in that place. I'm going to give you my best information on how to get out of it, and it's to begin taking action. That's how life gets easier, when we make order out of chaos, and it feels good. It feels inspiring, and it makes you happier. So how do you get started? Maybe you know the feeling of just getting the urge and running out there with the intention to do it all, right? That is such a childhood PTSD thing, to go from I can't do anything to I'm going to do everything in like 3 hours. There are times when that makes sense, but there's a time when it's just wishful thinking that you'll be able to tackle your entire list in a single day. I don't want to discourage you from all that positive problem solving, but what can happen is you make a list of 20 things, you start on the first 3 things all at once, and then you get overwhelmed and you fall back into procrastination. So taking action at a healthy pace is like a muscle. You can start to work it out slowly, just a little at a time at first. Now, whether you do a little at a time or you go on a cleaning binge, I'll tell you what the solution is not. The solution is not to give up on yourself. Don't identify with the trauma and mistake paralysis and giving up for self-care. Don't go to Instagram and read all the posts from people who speak tenderly about how broken they are. They can do that if that's what they want, but you are focusing on your strengths, and you are focusing on your vision, and you are focusing on your commitment to not let yourself down. When you let yourself down, the worst behaviors will start coming up. That's what human nature's like. When you fall short of your own goals, you know what your CPTSD wants to do? It wants to find someone to blame. In fact, if you start having random thoughts about how people are against you, or you're going over and over and over some harm done to you in the past, ask yourself, is there something I'm avoiding right now? Am I actually angry at myself for not following through on what I needed to be doing? And by the way, if you're not sure if complex PTSD is driving some of your self-defeating actions, you can take a quiz I developed. It's right down in the description section near the top. There's a link to the free tools page of my website where you'll find all my quizzes and my free course, The Daily Practice. Now, most people don't want to hear this, but the solution lies in action. Action taken in right proportion to your capacity. When you've been deep in procrastination and avoiding your life, don't wait until it feels right to get started. If you've been skipping brushing your teeth at night, just take that one step and do it, even when you're tired, just for practice, just to get a tiny experience of integrity around intention and follow through. Then the next day, do the laundry. If you're still feeling good, you can reply to emails that people wrote you 3 weeks ago, but you never answered. Then you can schedule a haircut and pop into the gym where you pay, but you never visit. You can review your credit card bills for all the monthly subscriptions you forgot were still draining your finances, for things you never use. You can throw out the moldy takeout container and the yellow broccoli in the fridge. I needed to do that today. You can sweep your front steps. You know the good actions that you need to be taking next. You may have to push yourself, not like a maniac, but a little bit every day. That saying you hear sometimes, don't be a human doing, but a human being. Well, it's a good sentiment, but doing and being are both really important. And doing is how we earn a living. It's how we express ourselves. How are you going to become fully yourself if you don't do things? It's not just the thing you get done, it's the momentum that you build. And the more you take action, the easier it becomes and the more natural it feels to keep taking action. Now, I procrastinated for years on the idea for Crappy Childhood Fairy. It was on my mind for 2 decades before I had the inner power to do it, and I'm so glad I did. And the thing that launched me into action was I signed up for a seminar about how to share your own life story as a way to teach other people. And I wanted to do it, but I was terrified to do it. What if I got judged? What if my work was bad? What if I was successful and then I was committed to always working hard? That was the big fear. And you know what? My fear has come true. My work as the fairy can be hard. It's a full-time job plus a lot of work on nights and weekends sometimes. But finally in my life, I'm actually bringing to the world what I have to give. And I never really felt like that in all the previous incarnations of my work. I was getting paychecks, but I felt like my life was passing me by and I wasn't being me. But this is so who I am now, doing this, what I'm doing right now. Do you relate to the difference between work for money and work that makes you feel like you are really in your life? Now, the reason I encourage you to do the work and the learning to do what you're really meant to do and to go toward what you're capable of becoming is because I believe it's the only thing that really makes a person happy. It's what gives you that feeling that it was a good day, it was worthwhile, and you can go to bed with peace in your heart, and you know that you spent the day well. And it doesn't have to be this giant accomplishment every day. For me, the things that make me feel like I really live today are connecting with my family and friends in a loving way, a little each day, being outside and walking every day, and then doing work that I know is genuinely making a difference for other people. I used to feel envious of people who build roads. I don't know why roads, but that's always where I could see it. I always thought, wow, those guys, they can go home at night and say to themselves, I helped build 100 feet of highway today. And they know they did an honest day's work and that people will benefit. And I didn't have that fully until I started doing what I do now. I didn't know how to start, but then I started when I slapped down $2,000 for that seminar. And that was just to get in the door for 4 days. I had to stay in a hotel and eat restaurant food and get to the city where it was held. And I'd never spent so much money on this kind of thing in my life. And you know what? I got stomach flu on the afternoon of the third day, and I missed a day and a half of the whole thing. I wasn't the only one. It went through the whole hotel. But you know what? It doesn't matter. I got started. And that was the day that the feeling that life was passing me by finally stopped. And I felt like my life was with me now. I felt like I was no longer wasting my time and my talents or the good fortune that I'd had, that I was lucky enough to have food and a roof over my head and an education and my health. I felt like I owed it to the world to give something back, like to give my best. And so I launched Crappy Childhood Fairy as a blog, and immediately that feeling of failure went away. I started thinking of new things I wanted to do with it. I want to do videos. I want to write a book. I want to make courses. And then I did those things. Being the Crappy Childhood Fairy is a lot of work, and emotionally it's hard sometimes, and the work can be just long hours, but never is it as hard as my life used to be when I knew that I could create this change. I could do it, but I didn't make the effort. And that is why it felt like life was passing me by, because it was. Every day for me, for you, time is ticking, and the world is just waiting for you to step up and take your true place in it. And you can do that by taking action. You can start with just one action. You can do it today. Small, consistent actions are the most effective. They're sustainable. You can keep adding to them, and they have little spaces between each step when you can catch your breath and get your equilibrium again. And if you keep going, this series of small actions leads to massive change. But they give you a little breather between small actions so you can equilibrate. And that means if you've spent years of your life constrained from letting your light shine, your spirit's going to love this. You're getting somewhere and accomplishment feels good. Now, when you finally act, does success always follow? No, not always. But what does follow is vibrance. You're alive. You're having the adventure of your life, the failures and the successes. You may or may not reach the goals that you set out. You may not even want the goal in the end, but the act of taking small steps each day will open your life up to all kinds of unexpected connections and possibilities. You're in the game. You're open for business. Your strength is action. And it's one thing to know what you should do, but if you want to free up your mind and your nervous system so action naturally comes up in you, I'm going to suggest you try my daily practice. It's a free course that you can sign up for and get started on right away when you click right here, and I will see you very soon.